Greetings, everyone. I'm so excited to bring you this interview with Dr. Richard Oppenlander. I say that right? Oppenlander?
You did? Yeah, it's perfect.
And he is the author of two books and the director of a nonprofit. We will put these links in the information section. His first book, which I read that just blew me away, is called Comfortably Unaware. And it's around how our eating choices are essentially destroying our environment, our habitat, our air quality, our water quality, our soil quality, our health as humans, many indigenous cultures, and a number of other really important things that are going on in the world around our food production system. There's so much I could say, but I think we'll just jump straight into asking questions. And I hope that after this interview, you will feel compelled, if you haven't read his books, to read them and to check out his websites and to spread this message because it's vitally important for humans everywhere. So, can you help clarify this? Is this all animal products? I mean, is this chicken? Is this rabbit? Is this
Mhm.
beef? Is this pork? Is this just some simple milk? I mean, what about grass-fed beef, pastured animals? What about
Sure.
the slow food production? I thought that was better.
Right. Okay, so you're bringing up a lot of one question about many specific food groups and movements, and that's an issue by itself. Is that the information that we're receiving as the public and even policymakers about these food movements, it's attempting to drive people into a more natural or healthier way of eating, but it's not really looking at what I would again term more relative or optimal sustainability. The Maybe we should define the word sustainable better at the onset in order to answer that correctly. The word sustainable or sustainability for most people, individuals and policymakers, as you're talking about, uh, the definition is related to enduring or lasting a while, which unfortunately is typically customizes or molds, has a molding of sorts to fit that word into a temporary or short-term need or want by that individual or that policymaker. It brings up all sorts of, it creates all sorts of subjectivity. For me, then, sustainability would have to take into account the realities of time, space, optimization, and relativity. So, sustainability, the concept of being sustainable, then has to extend beyond self, as we were saying, to include society and future societies, both human and non-human life. And when I talk about non-human life, I mean domesticated as well as wildlife, as I said earlier. And also then to achieve sustainability in order to, the thought of achieving sustainability must extend to many layers. It must extend through ecological, in, ethical, social layers, and ultimately must be carried by our food choice and agricultural systems, because those are the threads that affect all levels or all aspects of sustainability. So knowing that
Yeah.
now we can go back and answer the question a little bit better. Is that um, I think that the politicians fairly soon will need to have this definition in front of them. I mean, you see the word sustainable everywhere; it's ubiquitous. The difficulty is it's not being defined correctly. Rarely, if ever, is food choice properly positioned in the definition. So whenever that becomes positioned correctly, that's when we can see some positive change occurring. And the other issue that we're talking about is that it does affect all animal products, because of what I mentioned earlier in the definition. If you're looking at relativity and optimization, you have to then look at the fact that there's a component here from taking plants that are growing on land and requiring resources And instead of eating those directly or using them directly for human consumption, what we're doing is we're funneling them through this middle ground, which is animal agriculture. You're funneling all this food. 97% of all the agricultural land used in America today in the United States is used in some way, some fashion for animal agriculture. 97%.
97%.
97%. 45% of all the terrestrial, ice-free terrestrial land on our planet, 45% minimally, is used for livestock. 27% of all fresh water is being used for livestock on Earth. And so when you're looking at these ratios, I mean, even just the feed conversion ratios, like how much food is required to produce a pound of protein or a pound of something edible at the end, it requires 8. The food conversion ratio is 8 to 1 for beef, about 4 to 1 for pork, about 3 to 1 for chickens or poultry, 2 to 1 for fish. It's 70 to 75 to 1, meaning 75 pounds of some type of plant food that we could be eating as humans, 75 pounds to 1 pound of edible product, if you want to call it edible, at the end for grass-fed livestock. So the ratios, and we can talk about the unsustainability of grass-fed systems here in a moment, but to finish the question, then all animal products are unsustainable if you view that definition that I just gave in more applicable terms. All of them are.
And that's a great thing to consider. When I first started reading about conversion of plant products into animal product, I said, if this was a business, you'd be failing because you can't have those kind of inputs without a great output,
No,
and it's a losing system.
It's a losing system for our environment, and there's at this stage a very important thing to note, and for the audience to know, is that there's no accounting, there's no accountability you've used the term business very well there. From a business standpoint, there's no accountability for the externalities. I mean, there's in other words, I've often advocated that we should have both a health risk tax as well as an eco tax. The health risk tax can be easily quantified. I have a few people that are working on it right now with me. But the eco tax is difficult because it's the resources that we're taking they're invaluable, and many of them are irreplaceable in our lifetime. And so, how do you account for irreplaceability?
How do you quantify that?
How do you quantify it? So, in my mind, you don't do it. For something, if you're creating damage that's irreversible in our lifetime, which we are, it has to be eliminated, not lessened.
Right.